Hello and welcome to Starry Lake, and today I'll be reviewing the entire Attack on Titan manga. So it's been almost a week now, ever since the final chapter released and the series is officially over. And this video isn't going to be talking about the ending or like the controversy, because I know that might still be a hot topic. If you're looking for that, I have another video about the controversy and my thoughts about it. This video is specifically going to be reviewing the entire manga. And that's pretty much it. This is probably going to be my longest review yet. I'll have to see when I'm done recording, but just because of how big this series is, and since this is my second manga review that I'm doing on the channel, it'll be cool to see some support. But who knows? I haven't done a manga or any review to this scale, so I'm just excited to go right into it. So let's start off with a summary of the whole story. So Attack on Titan starts off with Eren, Mikasa, and Armin being driven out of their home after the walls around their town are breached by Titans. And Eren also sees his mom get eaten alive in front of him. Yes, you heard that right. If you haven't read the series, the first chapter is quite first episode of it is infamous. But I'm just talking about the manga here, no anime. So now that that's happened, Eren kind of gets the motivation that he wants to kill all the Titans for the hatred because of his hatred against the Titans. And this is our introduction into the story, and that's where so Eren, Mikasa, and Armin join the training corps to become part of either the military police or the survey corps, but they're just training to use ODM gear and other stuff like that, so they can eventually fight Titans, as Eren's dream and motivation is. And this is where we get into this the first real arc of the series, which is the Battle of Trust. And this is quite a gruesome arc. It really sets the tone of the series. Everybody's just dying left and right. Everybody that you knew, all the recruits that you were with, they're all dead. Just only a few characters alive after this one. And we also get revealed in this one that Eren is actually a Titan, and he can transform into Titan, and he uses that ability to plug up the wall after this. Plug up the wall since the wall had been breached by the colossal Titan. After this, Eren enrolls into the Survey Corps. They are the team that ventures outside the walls, and they look for Titans and tries freeing their area from Titans. And Eren joins this because, of course, he wants to kill all the Titans, but also because he yearns freedom, and he doesn't. And just like Armin's dream, they want to see the sea, and the Survey Corps is their embodiment of that, because they're the only group allowed to leave the walls. So after that, we embark on our first mission as part of the Survey Corps, and that's like a scouting mission around the area. But the whole mission slowly goes south when a strange female Titan appears out of nowhere and completely demolishes everybody. The Survey Corps is able to return from the mission, but they return very defeated. Lots of people have died, and they actually find out after this the identity of the female Titan is another person who can turn into Titans. So there's not just Eren, there's more than one people who can turn into them, and this person is Annie, and they have a whole battle and they capture Annie. After this, this is where the anime season 1 ends, and this is where season 2 starts. So here we start with the Clash of Titans arc. We learn a few things. We get introduced to a new strange beast Titan. It's revealed that Ymir, another character that we knew, is also a Titan shifter, and it's also revealed that one of the biggest reveals and probably one of the best moments of the series, which is Reiner and Bertholdt revealing that they are the Colossal and Armored Titan. And that's when we have a long-awaited fight of Eren versus the Armored Titan, the two Titans that had caused Eren's mother to die and caused him to become an orphan, essentially. And this is the whole battle, and it all ends with Eren being captured, and eventually Eren fighting back, the scouts escaping using Eren's secret ability that we had never known about, which is the ability to control Titans. We'll learn more about this later, but for now it's quite a new and confusing ability. Directly out of this Clash of Titans arc, we enter the Uprising arc, and this is more of a political uprising. It's like the government themed, lots of political espionage, stuff like that. It's one of those arcs, a lot less Titan fighting, but there is a lot of fighting still, nonetheless. And due to this arc, there's an actual revolution and the government's overthrown, and now we have a new government, and one that's less corrupt, and one that's not really a monarchy anymore as it was before, and more of a democracy or some other form of that. I'm not really too familiar with these types of governments. So after the uprising arc, the Survey Corps finally venture back into Shiganshina, the place where it all started. And this is where one of the most epic battles of all time go down, and this is between the Survey Corps and against the Beast Titan, Colossal Titan, and Armored Titan. And the Survey Corps barely managed to make it out of this one alive. There are only 7 of them out of the 109, I think, remain. So really gruesome, lots of deaths. And after this, we are finally revealed to us a lot of the mysteries that had been set up previously in the earlier season, such as what's outside of the walls, and where do the Titans come from, and why are there Titan shifters. The story of everything is basically revealed at this point, and almost all of our mysteries are answered, and that's where we head into where Season 3 ends, and that's where Season 4, the most recent season, had started. And this is the Marley arc. So we suddenly shift gears, and we are now on the perspective of Marley. And a lot of good things are happening, but it doesn't last for long, as Eren and the Survey Corps invade Marley, and they attack and steal the Warhammer Titan. Yeah, the Warhammer Titan and this is basically an all-out Titan war. We have the Jaws Titan, Cart Titan, Warhammer Titan, Attack on Titan, Beast Titan, Armored Titan, and Colossal Titan. Every Titan that you can imagine is here, and they're going down. And eventually the Survey Corps take a big W here. It's completely destroying Marley, and they escape. And that's where we switch finally back to the sides of Eren and the perspective of the Paradise Island. And that's where we see what post-time skip Eren is like, how the planning of the Survey Corps went. How the planning of everybody here at the Paradise went, and what they've been doing behind the scenes to prepare for the attack on Marley. And just as and tensions keep rising at this, there's another uprising. But just as Paradise is dealing with their own problems, Marley invades Paradise as a revenge attack, and this is where it goes down for the War of Paradise arc. And we have this amazing battle between all the other Titans once again, with the Zeke and Eren now teamed up. And eventually, it was a very close call, but Eren pulls out the victory, and he starts rumbling. And that's where we enter into the final part of the series. Honestly, this should be its whole arc on its own, but it's part of the War for Paradise arc, so I'll just count it as that. And in this arc, Eren continues doing his rumbling, and everybody else has to team up to stop him, because he's now kind of the villain. And in the end, he eventually dies. A lot of other people die as well, as like the Jaegers. They're all pretty much dead. So Eren is dead, and now the world is free from the wrath of the Titans, and that's where our series ends. That's it with our summary. I know this was really, really, really quick. It's oversimplifying a lot, but I gotta keep this video short, so let's just move on and talk about the story. So the story for Attack on Titan, as you can tell by the title, Attack on Titan is a series that improves over time. It just keeps getting better and better, and it's so surprising how it went from a series that's good to a series that's one of the best ever made. It's really amazing to see this all unfold before your eyes. This series also has lots of mystery, and that's what I really like about a good story, is that they set up lots of details that make you ask questions, and lots of details about the world and about what's happening. And Attack on Titan not only gives you a lot of these mysteries, they answer these mysteries slowly and just at the right time to make you connect all the dots together until finally hitting you with it and finally revealing how the whole world works. And for a story as complex as this, that's amazing how they were able to do that and just deliver on every single mystery. Like back when they were teasing of the basement, I didn't think the basement would be that big of a deal, because it's a basement. How would something in a basement decide the fate of humanity? But when it actually revealed, I was completely blown away. So I'm just gonna say the mystery completely delivers. So if you're a fan of that, you're gonna love this too. The story. So this story has a very this story has a very gruesome atmosphere. It definitely sets the tone right at the very first arc that people die, that the Titans are a real threat in this world, and that kind of threat stays throughout the whole thing. Maybe at the beginning it was Titans, and towards the end it's Marley, but people keep dying. You are not guaranteed a safety, like in other animes. Like people die. Like it's gruesome too. So the story definitely sets a very gruesome tone. And overall, I just think this story is complex in just the right ways. It has so many world building aspects that makes this whole world just feel so alive, and it has so many fitting themes too. Like the way the story progresses from being fighting against Titans to fighting against this super nation. It has a lot of good themes about fascism and racism, and themes about freedom and all of this, like, so mature subjects and so many things that you honestly wouldn't expect out of a series like this when you give it a go at the very beginning. So yeah, that's all I gotta say. This series has so many fitting themes. It just works so perfectly. And as I said before, that just leads me to my final point, which is that Attack on Titan takes all the steps in the right direction. So many things could have gone wrong after season 1 and 2. They could have just made this a very simple humanity versus Titan story, and towards the end they just wipe out all the Titans, and yay, that's the story. But they took all the right steps. They just like the Uprising arc, right? I was asking for it. Shouldn't there be an Uprising arc? Because there's so many questions about the world and the monarchy that's there, and I was kind of questioning, who is this king and why is he not doing anything? So I'm glad that they took the time to make an Uprising arc and also took the time to make action. Just so many right directions that it delivered completely. So, and it's also very real. This story, Attack on Titan, is probably the most real war story that you can get out of an anime. It's like a Saving Private Ryan or something. Everything just connects to our world. You can see so many similarities, and it's kind of scary if you think about it, how similar Attack on Titan's world is compared to our world. I know we don't have giant man-eating monsters that are walking around, but a lot of the stuff around Marley and the racism against Eldians is so true, especially during our olden times, and some of them are still true today. So yeah, I really like the social commentary of Attack on Titan as well. I know I've said a lot of pros about the story, but don't get me wrong, the story is not completely perfect. I think at the beginning of the story, it was very slow. This pace was excruciating. I found it very hard to continue reading, and I just wanted to, skim and get over to the good parts, as people said, and I'm glad I didn't do that, because it definitely does get good. And towards the end, especially people know, like the final few chapters, it definitely rushed a lot of things. They should have taken more time. I mentioned this in my controversy video, but I definitely think the ending was rushed. So overall, I think at the beginning they found a right pace, but at the beginning, in the middle, they found a good pace to continue the story, but at the beginning it was too slow. Towards the end, it was way too fast. So that's all I gotta say for the story. Let's get on with the characters. So, characters. I think at the very beginning of the story, I didn't really like the characters all too much. I think they were just shallow and underdeveloped. Like, Eren was just an angry guy who screamed a lot at Titans. Armin was just a very scared guy who was kind of smart, but nobody realized it. And Mikasa was just a badass who was very quiet. That's pretty much all you could assign to these people. But, oh boy, was I wrong when saying characters are bad. Armin, Mikasa, and Eren, the three people I just talked about, they probably had the most development out of everybody. Like, Mikasa had such a good story arc about letting go of her feelings about Eren and how she needs to come to terms with the world around her. And Armin had such a good story about him coming to terms with the violence and him getting the Colossal Titan and how he has to take leadership and stop being so cowardly. And Eren, I think most of all, has on the most improvement. I think many people have said that Eren is one of the best one of the best protagonists, and I definitely agree with that. Eren improved in such a good way with his philosophy and his attitude that really love what they did with Eren's character, especially after the first few arcs. It was just amazing to see our main trio evolve over time. And that's not to say the side characters were bad in any means. They had an equal amount of development as well, like the Reiner and Bertolt and Zeke and so many other characters like Levi, Erwin. There were so many other side cast characters that you just loved, and they feel like real people. And I just also gotta mention that this series has some great villains, quote unquote. I know they can't really be said as villains because we don't know who the villains are, especially towards the end. Like, anybody could be the villain, depends on your perspective. But I just really like how they set up the dynamic and how they just made the villains opposing. Like Zeke, especially in season 2, was definitely a very scary villain. Reiner, and they were just villains that you could sympathize with, but villains that you also felt imposed by, and that's very rare, I feel like. And overall, I just think that the character. That's all I really have to say about the positives of the characters. On to my negatives. I think there were definitely characters that Attack on Titan kind of forgot about, like Ymir. After her whole thing in the Clash of Titans arc, she kind of just gets eaten, and that's it with her. We only have her letter with Historia afterwards. I wish we got some more. It feels like at the end of the Clash of Titans arc, I just finally felt like Ymir was getting that development she deserved, and then it was over. Like, her character's gone for the rest of the story. I just feel like those types of characters, and also, especially towards the end, characters like Reiner and Yelena, they had such good arcs and interesting personalities that they kind of just disappeared from the story and nothing really happened afterwards with them. So I just feel like Attack on Titan gave equal treatment to all of its characters, because there's definitely a lot of standouts that you don't really, that you kind of just forget in the back of your mind, and Attack on Titan pretends it's like that's fine, because everything else is so complex, but I can't really forgive them for that. So anyways, that's all I gotta say for characters. Let's move on to art. So for the art of this series, I think that at the very beginning of the series, this art definitely looked like something a regular person would make. It wasn't very good. It was very awkward and weird. The shading in some areas was just incorrect, like it was way too light or it was way too dark, and the proportions weren't exactly correct. The characters' faces didn't look right with how their faces were positioned on their head. I just feel like at the very beginning, it just felt very rough, and it didn't really it had a style of being rough, but it just still felt very messy and just felt unfinished. So, but it's safe to say that the art definitely improved over time, especially in the last arc. You can definitely tell there's so much improvement in the art, and everything just looks much better. And Isayama kind of took his messy style that was kind of a negative at the beginning and turned it into his strength. Like, the whole messy style kind of fits so well with Attack on Titan if you think about it, right? Due to all the themes and everything, that I just love how gritty and hard and just unfinished and unclean the style kind of became later on, especially since he fixed all of the other issues. It definitely shone out to me. I also think that aside from all of that, I think that Isayama used some great shots and camera angles when he drew his characters. Like, it genuinely felt like I was watching a movie sometimes, like a movie in the form of a book. Like, all of these panels looked like an IMAX giant screen that you would see. It was just amazing to see how Isayama used his style combined with these amazing camera angles. And like I said, since it emulates and reminds me of a movie, it creates a lot of like the tension during these fight scenes, which is usually a thing that the anime does better. The mangas did just as equally good as when the anime came out, because of how the shots were just framed and how everything and the action flowed from one panel to another. It kept me at the edge of my seat. So I think that's all I gotta say about the art. Let's move on to my final overall score and final conclusion, my final thoughts. Oh, I jumbled that last sentence. Anyway, let's just move on. So overall, I think this story was very good. It definitely understood what it was, and it took all the steps in the right direction. Attack on Titan knew that what it needed to do to become a great series, and it did exactly that. It didn't do anything unnecessary. It didn't take any random risks that risks I mean like you don't really agree with, but it did so many other things that I just feel like Attack on Titan progressed in such a right way that other writers take note. If you have a story that's mediocre, you can still make it one of the best if you take it in just the right direction. I also feel like all the characters felt like real people, like each and every character was given depth and a personality. This is also kind of combined with the story, and just each character feels like someone that existed, and this whole story kind of just feels like I'm reading something that came out of the 1800s. You know, it just feels like a historical document due to how real everything is. And like I mentioned in my previous section, the art is quite amazing. It definitely looks like a movie, and given Attack on Titan's feel, I think this whole grand, larger than life artistic paneling and flow is definitely something Attack on Titan benefits from. Overall, I just think that everything just improved over time. The story started off slow, but it definitely improved over time. Characters started off shallow, but they improved over time. Art started off awkward, but it improved over time. So Attack on Titan, just like how I mentioned in the title, is definitely can be described by one sentence: a story that just kept on improving, and that's definitely true. For cons, like I said, this story is not perfect. I think it was slow at first and a bit too fast at the end. And the characters were also shallow at first. They weren't given enough. They were just tropes. They didn't have enough development. And I feel like some characters were definitely forgotten, like Ymir, Reiner, Yelena. I mentioned those before. And the art overall at the beginning was just awkward, weird, and this can all just be summarized into Attack on Titan and Isayama not knowing, and he wasn't unsure of what Attack on Titan was supposed to be at the beginning. And you can tell that Isayama, I'm not saying that Isayama didn't know what the story was going to be like. You can tell that this guy had planned out everything like for years prior, but I just feel like when he was starting, he might have been unconfident about how this story would go, especially since if you've heard that his art has been caused to him being rejected by some magazines. But otherwise, I just feel like Attack on Titan didn't have that style to it, and he was just hesitant on making a story that was a bit too fast, and characters that were a bit. He was hesitant on taking risks, is what I'm trying to say. But definitely, as the story progressed, he found that flow. He found that the zone, and he just kept on going. And I'm glad he did. So overall, that's all I have to say from pros and cons. And my final score of this series, Attack on Titan manga, is going to be 9 out of 10 Connies. Connies probably because I've been on OK Buddy Reiner recently, and it's quite a brain dead sub. But otherwise, I can't. I'm so tempted on giving this series a 10 out of 10 because it just feels like a masterpiece. But like I said with the cons, having such big story issues at the beginning and end, having these characters issue at the beginning, and the art as well, I just feel like I can't give it a 10. You know, it just isn't. It doesn't have that perfect vibe to it. So either way, that's all I have to say for this review. Leave your thoughts in the comments below, and I guess that'll be for me today. See you guys later. Bye.